Okay. It says we're live. And let's see if we can move a few things around here. I may want to check a few settings here. And before we get started, good. Looks like everything's pretty good shape. Let's see, see if anybody can give me a thumbs up. If everybody hears me just fine. And hopefully, hey, Zach, how's things down under? Hey, Jamie, sounds good. Okay, well, great. Hey. Yeah, I thought I would talk about it. It's all the headlines this morning. Well, not this morning, it's yesterday morning, especially. Uh, the FedEx FedEx pulled a contract of one of its largest contractors, and I kind of saw it coming. I mean, I've seen it in the past. A lot of the young guys have kind of looked at me and said, "Well, we don't want to hear from you because you're an old guy and you're not in the system anymore," and all that sort of stuff. But I tried to kind of warn them. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen on our local level. I saw contractors in other areas that I was affiliated with get pulled. Uh, FedEx doesn't tolerate sort of an insubordination or a threat of an insubordination like that, or somebody trying to do collective bargaining. It's one of those things. Yeah, Tony's Ice Cream is going to see a surge in business here, Jamie. Yeah, I love Tony's Ice Cream, and I was headed to a soccer match yesterday, my grandson, and I got out the house. I got out of the house and was headed down there, and I said, "Oh crap! I left my hat," and the sun was really beating down on it. So I was stopping in Tony's anyway to get a milkshake for my refreshment, and so I said, "Well, let's give me one of those hats while you're at it." So I picked up a Tony's Ice Cream hat. Greatest place you'll ever eat ice cream. I tell you, I've been to a lot of ice cream places, and it's well renowned. It's over 100 years old, and the grandson is the owner. Well, really, the grandson and the great grandson are the people running it now. That's an established place. Uh, the Coletta family down in Gastonia. They've got a fantastic organization down there. Make the best ice cream. If you're ever in Gaston County or in the Charlotte area or whatever, make a point to go to Tony's Ice Cream. That I don't get anything out of. I don't even get a. But I'm telling you, it is the best milkshake taste in your life, and they pile it on too. I mean, that one they gave me yesterday. I mean, it had a huge scoop of ice cream on top of the milkshake, and I mean, it's a meal within itself. Uh, yeah, that's exactly right. If you mess with the bull, you're going to get the horns a lot of times, and that's what happened. Uh, yeah, yeah. Well, what happened, Zach? There was a contractor, and he was a pretty good sized contractor. I mean, there's been others close to that size. He And you can read this on the news. It's all over the news. I mean, just Google FedEx fires largest contractor, and it'll come up. And what it was a company called Route Consultants, and it was owned by a guy named Spencer Patton. And he um, he's a very dynamic, boastful type guy, and he has made a business out of a business. Basically, he has a consulting firm. He has a brokerage and everything related to FedEx, and he's been out selling routes. In other words, he'd get other people to buy his routes and things like that he was trying to broker over the United States. And plus, he was a contractor himself, and then he would sell his services. He touted how good he was doing things and how everybody should follow his model and a lot of things like that. You'd have to see it to understand. But what he did, he kind of poked at the bear too many times. I mean, he disparaged FedEx and their name on the national media. I mean, he got on Fox News, he got on Bloomberg, several different news organizations, local TVs, different ones interviewed him, and he was explaining his reasoning behind being upset with FedEx about the fuel adjustment and things like that. And basically, he was putting demands to them and saying, "Well, I'm gonna organize all these people, and we're gonna shut the system down if you don't follow our demands." Well, you don't do much of that without, you know, getting, you know, getting the big boys upset. And he had already put demands out there, and he was calling things Purple Friday, that he was going to make decisions and hopefully influence. It appeared other contractors to do what he was doing. Well, lo and behold, Friday, FedEx uh, uh, brought a lawsuit against him. And also, by the end of the day, they shut his system down. They said, "You are no longer a contractor with FedEx Ground." Basically, they took away uh, 100 and how many was 122 routes, I think it was, that he was in control of. They basically, they're null and void right now. He he made he made a huge mistake. That contract, those routes and everything probably would be worth about, I would say, 15 to 20 million dollars if it were sold on the open market. And he put his neck on the line. He put his neck on the line. He didn't follow through what they were doing, and they said, "We are no longer contracting with Patent Logistics," I believe it was. What FedEx says, "You are no longer a contractor." And they said, "Take your trucks, go home," basically. And they've got the rights to do it, and they did it. And this boy, he stuck his neck out there, and they chopped it off. And I'd seen it happen on smaller scales. I've seen contractors that have 7 or 8 trucks in our area. I've seen them uh, do that in years past, and they'd lose their contract. And I guess he thought, well, I think it was 225 routes. That's what it was. 200, he had 225 routes, uh, but it was a huge amount. Uh, y'all can Google it. You'll see it on you know just type in there FedEx fires or gets rid of largest contractor, and you'll see what I'm talking about and read the story yourself. But it's bad. I mean, I understand the fact that some of these guys needed some fuel adjustment. They felt like FedEx was keeping too much of the fuel adjustment money and wasn't passing that through to the contractors. And he wanted more pay uh, per mile, and he wanted more pay per stop. I mean, all that's negotiable. And yeah, yeah, that's the one, Craig. The lawsuit there. How are you doing, Craig? Yeah, good. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see you in here, heavy machinery. Yeah, yeah. But when you're a contractor, you've got to understand. You got to understand what the system. I mean, you have one customer. When you're a contractor, you're contracted to FedEx. So FedEx is your customer. You're not a customer to all these other people. FedEx is one that gathers all the business. FedEx is the one that does all the back end work of gathering the freight and running through the system. They've got all the network. They've got all that they have to deal with. Your only job is to deliver the packages if you're, on the delivery side. Now, myself, I was on the line haul side. I just delivered the trailers from place to place. No, I'm not coming out of retirement in no shape or form. I mean, I'm retirement's retirement for me. I mean, health wise, I mean, I wish my health was better. I mean, but health wise, I can't physically. Plus, I lost vision in this left eye. I'm legally blind in this left eye, so I don't even have a CDL anymore. So I can't do that. So I'm limited. All I'm limited to, I can run a couple of my trucks on my farm or around outside of my farm too with a farm tag on it, and I'm limited to about 100 miles radius of my farm with my trucks and everything. That's the limit of my involvement with any kind of tractor trailer and stuff like that. But as far as commercial driving, I think the last time I had my eye checked, it was 2060 or 2050 in this left eye, which is not good enough for a CDL license. But I'm not interested. I did I did my time since 1967 when I was 16 years old. Uh, I was working at you know, part time at Carolina Freight, learning how to be a switcher. I went from that, uh, and then about close to 50 years, 45 to 50 years of nothing but, in the trucking business. So it did me well. I did well with it. I learned a lot as when I was young at Carolina Freight, learned how to switch trucks, a lot of experience, got to do a lot of mechanical things, behind the scenes things, worked for my brother some at the same time. I was working at Carolina Freight, and then I would go work at his shop and learn a lot of things, helping him move equipment around and helping him work on equipment. Yeah, I mean, yeah, when I owned the FedEx routes DL, I was a contractor, just like what we were talking about, like Spencer. I would dispatch. I didn't tell them you. I had dedicated routes mainly, so my routes were dedicated, going to the same location every day, and I had a good situation. I got in early. I started in 1987. The company only started in 1985. So it was a branch of Roadway, broke off, and they started Roadway Package System in 85. It got big in our area, started getting bigger, and I joined the operation in 1987, which was great for me, and I don't regret it at all. I mean, I took one truck and built it into a multi-million dollar corporation, so, well, several corporations, and it was very good for me. I can't complain in the least. uh, the overall picture for me was very good. Yeah, I owned the trucks. I didn't own the trailers. FedEx owned all the trailers. I just owned the trucks. I owned the trucks. I hired the drivers. I maintained the trucks, and that was the purpose of my shops. I know a lot of y'all have seen my shops, and I say shops plural because I had one, and I got too big for it, and I built a second one right across the road from where my first one was, because we got so large that I couldn't get. I only had a 2 bay garage, and when you had 5 trucks you needed to work on at one time, a 2 bay garage is not going to do you very much good. So I mean, I had to expand, and we did that, and was very successful. until my health problems. No, Roadway didn't own. No, Roadway sold off to FedEx. I mean, Roadway started RPS. They kept it going for about 10 years, and then they sold that part to FedEx. FedEx came in and bought uh, several different corporations. They bought Watkins, and they bought Roadway Package System. They just bought a division of it. Roadway ended up the Roadway freight part ended up merging with Yellow, and it was, if you see it now, it's YRL on a lot of things. So that's where Roadway went to as far as the LTL part. I mean, it's kind of strange. I mean, Roadway started this as a non-union division package care, and it was a very good endeavor. And they started it up, and I wanted to be a part of it because I had worked at Carolina Freight for a number of years, and I had been out of the transportation business for about 6 years, and I wanted to get back in it because I knew I made good money at it. And when I started with RPS, uh, it was great. I mean, I didn't particularly like the package van. I mean, that wasn't my forte. I mean, I had been, tractor trailer. I'd been involved, you know, running local and switch being a yard switcher and things like that. More of that style. So when the opportunity came for me to get the line haul at RPS, I jumped on it real quick and I bought my first truck. I've got some old videos of that too. It was a cab over international, and I enjoyed it. I did that, and then they were able to let me expand to two trucks, and I expanded to two trucks at RPS, and myself and one of my best friends, he came on and helped me, and uh, we uh, we both uh, expanded from there. And actually, he expanded himself. He left me as a driver and got a contract of his own with RPS, and then he grew. And as when he got older and was ready to get out, I bought him back out. He was one of my purchases that helped expand my business. I bought his five trucks, and it was a great thing. And I was able to pay him, and we did a finance deal with him, and it was great for him right up till the day he passed away. He We lost him last year. He was one of my best friends during all this the whole thing, and hopefully I gave him the last 8 or 10 years of his life. He had a good life by being retired and out of the trucking business and able to do a lot of things that he wanted to do. And it's my time now. I'm out. I'm doing other things other than trucking now, and I'm enjoying that. I'm able to take advantage of my shops and things like that. But you know, it's a real crazy situation. How sometimes, and I feel for these. I'm gonna get back to the FedEx thing. I feel for these uh, contractors that are out there struggling with this economy, and I blame the economy on our current administration. We've got a screwed up economy, and we're all having to deal with it. And hopefully, these contractors will look at this and go, "We need to vote out some of these people in November." And that's my political stance of it, because we're bleeding ourselves dry with all this fuel and everything else, and the inflation. Inflation's killing us. The price of trucks, the price of parts, you know, it's a double edged sword for these contractors, because they're the people that are having to make the deliveries, and then they're getting hurt on the backside because they're getting all the inflationary things to keep up their trucks so they can keep delivering. I mean, it's a double edged sword for the contractors right now. So it's tough. And then uh, they have to buy the high price fuel and then expect to get this package out to you as cheap as you possibly can. It's tough. It is really tough out there. So it's not a great thing. Well, okay. they got a contingency plan, David. I mean, he didn't have these 275 trucks all in one location. He was spread across 10 states. So FedEx has a contingency plan of, because somebody may get sick, or like back when the COVID thing happened, they had to have contingency for drivers that were and contractors that maybe got COVID. Uh, they have other spare drivers and other contractors that could kind of merge together and deliver these packages. So that's basically what they've done. I mean, he had them in 10 states. He probably had, 15 at this location, 15 at that location. He didn't have all 275 at one hub or at one location. They were spread across several hubs and several stations, as they call them. And each of those stations, they are probably had to merge or, you know, send on some stuff. And, they FedEx with their uh, FedEx with their power and everything, they can bring in spare help. And actually, the people that actually work for this contractor, if they wanted to, they could go on and work for somebody with the contingency plan. I would imagine. I mean, basically, all they needed was equipment, and I would imagine before the hammer came down that FedEx was already putting things into place, knowing that this was going to happen on this date. Uh, and they're smart people, so they probably had everything lined up, trucks, people, everything says we need them in this place, and this place. So when it comes down, the next day it'll be fine. And I would imagine that's what happened. Now I would imagine also there was some disruption. I mean, you don't do all of that and have everything run as smooth as silk the next day. But they'll get over it. I mean, it's not something that it's going to kill FedEx. I mean, his routes were just, I think they said 0.5% of the entire network. I mean, they got 60,000 routes out there, 60 to 70,000 routes. So 225 out of 60,000 is a very small percentage. And the biggest thing that's going to happen, in my opinion, is all this action that's coming down by this contractor is going to have a reaction with FedEx, and FedEx is going to tighten the reins on letting people have contracts. I mean, the next contractors coming in are not going to have it as easy to be a contract. I mean, the contractors that's already pre-existing, I mean, this existing, not pre-existing, but the existing contractors now will probably not be able to expand at the rate that Patent Enterprises or whatever it was called uh, did. I don't think that. I think they're going to take a second look at that and say, well, this is what went wrong for us by letting this guy do this. I mean, we can't be Mr. Nice Guy anymore. We're going to have to change the dynamics. Yeah, DL, it's still a good system. Uh, Now, is it the end all of everything? No, it's tough. Now, it's a tough business out there. Don't get me wrong. If you got to be able to work 7 days a week, and a lot of people don't want to do that. It's not a 9 to 5 by any stretch of the imagination. And if you feel like that you can hire managers to do it and you can sit back in a cushy office, you can do that to a degree, but you're going to really eat into your resources and your money. And that's part of the thing too, that some of these contractors, I mean, I know for a fact, I knew some of them, you'd see them out on the golf course and their people are out there working. They're complaining because they're not making enough money. Now, not everybody does like that. And I mean, there's some that are struggling. There's some that are out there delivering packages themselves. But not all of them do. A lot of them like to hire managers, and uh, sub manager. I mean, there's two or three different levels of managers that FedEx will allow, and a lot of them do that. And I didn't personally do that myself. It was me and my wife and my daughter, where we worked the office, and of course I worked the office and the yards and everything else. And then I had mechanics that actually did the work for me, and I had my shops. That's the way I chose to do it. Now, some people, they want to hire out everything, and they want to hire out all the managers to do that for them. And then at the end of the day, here's what money they have. I chose to keep the bulk of that so I could keep my cash flow in better shape. Some people, you know, scoffed me, say, "Oh, well, that's not the right way to do it. You need to have a manager doing this and a manager doing that, and you can not worry with it and all that sort of stuff." It just wasn't my nature. I didn't want to. Um, I didn't want to. Now, of course, it took its toll on me physically. I'm not denying that. I mean, most of you that have been in here know that a couple of years ago I had a heart attack and quadruple bypass. And then, like I said, I lost vision in this eye. So health wise, it did hurt me. I mean, I guess the culmination of 34 years did take its toll on me physically. Um, I'm a testament to that. Uh, I I can't deny that this is tough work. Had I done some other things, maybe I'd been in better physical shape. But that's the way it goes. I did what I did. I chose to do what I wanted to do, and that's how I did. Now, did I come out pretty good? Other than my physical situation, I came out pretty good. Monetarily, I'm set. I don't have to worry about a lot of things anymore. It's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling being retired completely. I sold all my trucks. I sold all the ones. I sold a lot to the ones that bought me out, and then I had several spare trucks and everything, and I sold, all of those too. What I didn't sell out to individuals, I sold it at auction. I did very good, uh, getting rid of everything, and I enjoy the heck out of things now. Yeah, it's tough, James. It is the administration has got us in a bind right now, and people aren't realizing that. I mean, uh, the Dems are enjoying themselves. Oh yeah, we passed this bill and this bill and this bill, and all I see is that's more trouble coming down the pipeline. I mean, that's inflation. That's inflation. That's inflation. Uh, you can't bail out these people and print more money and expect the economy to get better. And that's what the Democrats have done at this point. And I'm telling you, if people don't get out there and vote them out, they're only fooling themselves. So that's my opinion. Yeah, yeah. I hope I'll get some. I hope Lewis sees this, and I'll have to tell him about it, and maybe he'll give me a free ice cream cone. Yeah, but no, I'm not sponsored by Tony's Ice Cream. That's for sure. I wish I were. I wish I had a lifetime supply of Tony's ice cream. That it would be fantastic. Oh yeah, I mean, of course, being in the boss situation is very stressful, DL. I mean, being out there delivering packages right now is tough. I never look down upon that at all. I mean, a lot of y'all have seen what they show the UPS driver that collapsed. I believe it was in Arizona, and this collapsed delivering a package. It's this 100-degree weather and those trucks. Although I will say this, the trucks, uh, most of you have always seen the UPS drivers with both doors open, winter and summer. And I mean, they keep them wide open usually, and that in itself is not as hot as you would think. I mean, I worked during that. I worked like that. Uh, the the bulk where you pick up the freight in the back, when they open that door, going into where the freight is, that's where the heat is, because a lot of them have a like a fiberglass top that so you can see good in there, and it is a boiling room. It is a it it's terrible, and that is tough work. When you go from that back into the freight part, I mean it's terrible. I mean it's probably, and they keep that bulk door shut for a couple different reasons. One, so they don't feel that heat, and you know it, it's hard to imagine it, but going in and out, and a lot of them say, well, you need air conditioning and everything. Well, air conditioning is only so good on those kind of situations because you're in and out and in and out all the time. And air conditioning sometimes can almost get you sick uh, if you stayed in air conditioning too long, then jumped in a heated situation and back and forth and back and forth. That's the part that's tough. That is the part that is very tough. Hey, Fleet Tech, I'm glad to see you in here. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I hate to, I hate to say it. I you know, I would not want to be a package delivery guy today. I mean, you got to thank them when they come by. I mean, the UPS and the Amazon people and the FedEx people, I always go out and try to thank them for delivering because it is one of the toughest jobs out there. I did it. I understand firsthand what it's all about in that respect. I would not want to do it again. I couldn't. I mean, somebody my age, there's no way physically that I could do that kind of work because it is over demanding. And I mean, like you say, you very seldom see somebody overweight doing that kind of work. You don't see anybody with a pot belly and uh, or beer gut or whatever delivering packages for UPS and FedEx and Amazon. I mean, Amazon's a little bit different, but you don't see like I said, how many UPS drivers do you see out there that have got a beer gut? Not many. Not if they're in the package delivery. I mean, it is a tough situation, and so anytime my regular guys, and I get to know a lot of them that come down here to my house. Uh, I try to thank them and chat with them just a little bit and talk to them and you know try to see how things going and try to be nice to them, tip them a little bit every once in a while, and that sort of stuff. It's great to see some of these regular guys out there, but a tough job, very tough job. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they UPS will probably Fleet Tech will probably have that in their next contract because they're getting the heat. Not, you know, I'll preface that the heat. They're getting the heat from the national media about there's guys collapsing out there, and FedEx does have a lot of air conditioning units, and the people that are the contractors, they can get an air conditioning unit themselves. I mean, they don't have to wait on a union or something to say you can have an air conditioned unit. So, it varies from place to place what the situation is. And not all places will demand air conditioning, but there are some places, if you're in Florida or Texas or Arizona and some of these places like that where I mean it's unbearable heat. I would say you definitely need to get some AC and a few things like that. But AC is not going to be the panacea to all the problems you've got out there in the delivery business. It is a tough business. Yeah, well, yeah, UPS pays good wages. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if I saw it or not, DL. I've been rambling on. Uh, you'll have to, uh, as you notice, I've been talking and not reading as much. A lot of the guys I've been watching have been talking amongst themselves. So I kind of let them do that, DL. Now, what was your last question? Let me see if I can scroll up to it. I haven't. I didn't. Okay. 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 I said I'm a company driver. How do I learn how to run a truck and run a trucking business? Well, it's for me, DL. I basically I started, like I said, with one truck, and I use a lot of common sense. I saw my my family's been in the trucking business for years. My dad drove 38 years at Carolina Freight. So I grew up in the trucking industry. And then here in my hometown was Carolina Freight. That was their home headquarters. And it was eh, the entire town. I mean, all my friends and everybody, their dads and moms worked at Carolina Freight. So the whole community, as I grew up in the 50s and 60s, was revolved around Carolina Freight in our small town of Cherryville. I mean, you can imagine the town only had 5,200 people. 3,000 people worked at Carolina Freight. So you can understand how many people from Cherryville itself. It sucked up the entire town. It seems like. Of course, there was a lot of people from other towns around. It wasn't all of Cherryville, but Cherryville dominated Carolina Freight, and Carolina Freight dominated Cherryville. It took the demands of everything like that. But so I grew up in it. Uh, my brother was a mechanic. My oldest brother was a mechanic, and he was a mechanic at Carolina Freight for a while, and then he started his own shop. And so I learned from him on those kind of things. My dad was very mechanical. We lived on a farm, so when Dad got off from driving in the afternoons, we would farm in the afternoons, help Dad. Of course, we had chores anyway to do, but those kind of things. So that's how I evolved as far as learning different things. So I mean, I was driving tractors at the age of 10 and 12. Uh, Equipment was always a thing that I loved and that I was involved with. So that's sort of the situation for me, uh, and how I grew up. Uh, so it was, whereas some people they get really good at baseball because all they do is play baseball, or really good at basketball because all they know is basketball. Well, equipment and trucks and farming and this, I drove a school bus. All of these things, I guess, kind of gave me equipment came second nature for me. I mean, I've never seen a piece of equipment that I can't run. I mean, I've jumped on, I've owned bulldozers. I've drove bulldozers as a young boy. Every piece of equipment out there, bulldozers, track hoes, tractors, big trucks, everything. Everything that you can imagine, I had my hands on it at one time or another, and enjoyed the heck out of it, and actually took it as a challenge. I mean, if I saw a piece of equipment that I hadn't ran, I always wanted to do it. I mean, that was my challenge when I was young. I mean, and that's how I started. Well, I guess what pushed me to be an owner is that I saw the opportunity, and I have done other business ventures in my life, DL. I mean, I when I was young and still working at Carolina Freight, I started my own record store. I enjoyed music and things like that, and I started my own store. So I was working at Carolina Freight, uh, working full time, doing overtime with them, and then also I started a store. So the entrepreneur part came early with me too. Uh, Owning stores, I owned a record store, and then eventually I owned a couple of Army Navy stores. So I was always a hustler. I hustled all my life. I never sat back and just did one thing and then went to the beach or uh, went to the lake or something like that. It was always, how can I improve myself, and how can I do things to improved my life for me and my family. I mean, I came from I didn't get anything. My first home was a mobile home. My wife and I, when we first got married, we lived in a mobile home. I didn't come to this great situation and, you know, built everything and had everything given to me. I had to struggle for everything I had. Uh, the house that we live in now we after living in a mobile home for about 5 or 6 years, we built this house. Now my father-in-law did give us some land on the backside of his farm, uh, and which I was very grateful for. He always kind of wanted something down there. He it was down in the woods on the backside, and my wife it was very timid at the time, and she's, oh, I don't know if we ought to build down. I said, honey, we can make this into a beautiful place, and it's on the backside of the pond. And now my wife looks at this and says, boy, didn't we make the right decision to build down here, because we built our little homestead, I guess you might say, down here on the backside of the farm, and it's been great. And but she lived uptown. She had never lived on the farm. So when I kind of acclimated her to this kind of lifestyle, it changed her dynamics completely. And now she's out gardening, she's got the place looking beautiful in in my opinion, and she loves it. I love it, and we wouldn't live anywhere else. It's paradise for us. And now that we're older, we're looking at the fruits of our labor, and we're really enjoying it and everything. So that's kind of where we are. Yeah, I got the best wife in the world. I really do, Craig. I really have the best wife in the world. We were high school sweethearts. Uh, I fell in love with her the moment I saw her. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, you're crazy." Not me. I saw her. She caught me from the corner of my eye, and I saw her walking up the sidewalk. I've always told her that. And I looked at her, I said, that's the prettiest little girl I've ever seen. And she was cute as she could be. She's smart as she can be. She was valedictorian of her high school, well, I'm a year ahead of her. So, of her class, she was valedictorian. Uh, I always kid people. They say, "How smart are you?" I said, "I'm pretty daggum smart." I said, "I married the valedictorian, and so I married the smart girl in school, and she's smart." She went on to be a school teacher, taught math for 32 years, and then joined me after she retired. Joined me in the trucking business, and we expanded it from there. And she did great with that, and everybody at FedEx loved her, and they knew that she was there straightening me out as far as my paperwork and things like that that I was lacking in back then. My wife she's very meticulous and everything when it comes to paperwork, and if it hadn't been for her, I wouldn't have had the success in the trucking business. And she and I both were contractors, so we as a group, they would let us. She had 49% of my company. I had 49% of her company. And then we had a joint company and things like that. So that's the way we evolved in FedEx, and, got to be a large entity. We were in three major locations. We were in Charlotte, Greensboro, and Savannah, Georgia. And so, we grew real well with FedEx. I can't complain a bit. Had it not been for FedEx, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I mean, I definitely wouldn't have had it if I was just working for a salary and just had was a salaried employee. And I was able to, you know, uh, keep building my company through the opportunity with FedEx. And FedEx, I admire what they did for us because prior to that, when I worked at RPS, I mean, before FedEx bought it out, we were assigned runs, but we did not own those runs. All we had was a right to run those runs, and that's all we had. We could lease our equipment to them to run those specific runs, and that was it. At the end of the week, we got paychecks, and that was it. I mean, it paid good at the time. It paid real good, but I did not have an ownership of that route, and we didn't have that until FedEx came about, and then they let us have ownership of that route to operate. It was an ownership operate type thing. You had the right, and only you had the right to run that route. And as long as you did what they wanted you to do as in the contractual situation, it was yours to control. And they would let you sell that route. You could sell it to another entity, and that's where we made money. And that's where I made money. I mean, basically, I built it up to a certain level, and then when I was ready to get out, I sold out. And then I got the profits from that, and that's my retirement. And it's been great. Uh, yeah. Oh, you're talking about JC Smith? Yeah. Yeah, JC Smith has a great wife too. Yeah, they've actually been down. JC and his wife have actually been down here. They bought a truck from me a couple of years ago, and so JC is a great guy. I like JC a lot. I watch his channel when I can, and great people. I've met a lot of great people on YouTube, and I can't say anything. I can't say anything bad about any of them. I mean, there's been a lot of people that uh, I like seeing the community that we can create through through YouTube. And with me, I've been happy to convey how I've done things. I like explaining how things that I did, what happened and everything, how I was able to come about uh, to where I'm at, and if I'm a good example or whatever, you know, that's the way it goes. Well, guys, give me a thumbs up. I don't have as many thumbs up out there. I hope I can get more thumbs up. Not trying to promote you, but if I can get a couple of those, I'd like to have a that helps my channel, if I can get a couple thumbs up. But you know, uh, you know, I've enjoyed I've enjoyed being on YouTube for the past 3 or 4 years, or whatever it is. I'd have to check how long I've been on it now. And the community has grown. I get a lot of subscribe. I've got a decent amount of subscribers. I'm still not a great big channel. I mean, there's channels out there with hundreds of thousands of people, but I've actually gotten involved, and as you'll see, all the moderators on here, uh, I have a lot of repetitive people that come in and out, and I really enjoy it. And being able to see the same people coming back and talking with them and that sort of stuff. Yeah. Thank you, James. But to see the same people, day in and day out, or week in and week out, uh, it's great. It's a good feeling, and I know that uh, I feel like I have a community of people that I can sit here and talk to, and that's what I try to do. Of course, I have a lot of others. You know, I've put up some videos and get thousands of views, and I don't know who those people are, but that's good too. I mean, if they want to talk and chat with me on a regular basis, I love it. I wish I could talk to everybody. I wish I could do one on one with everybody, and a lot of you guys, do text me and we chat. I've talked to some of them online. I mean, there's several. I'm not going to call names, but there's several on the list here that I've talked to personally, and that sort of stuff. And I enjoy the heck out of it. I enjoy being able to converse with people, give them my opinion of stuff. It's just my opinion. Uh, I had a lot of. I put out a video about this situation uh, a week or so ago, and some people liked it, some people did not like it, And that's what I always try to say. It's just my opinion. I'm not trying to sway anybody. I have no skin in any game. I'm totally retired. Uh, some of them say, "Well, I don't want your information. You're not current, and you're not." I'm not trying to be. I'm just telling you an example of how things work for me when I was at FedEx and how they are. I mean, someone said, "Oh, it's changed dramatically." Well, I mean, I know there's been change. I don't think it's changed overnight uh, and so dramatic. I mean, I still keep up with it. I still have friends in it. I still have a little bit of a vested interest in it. So I'm not totally oblivious to the situation. And like I've told a lot of them, I was always one wanting the most money we could get for the contractor because the contractor is doing the bulk of the work. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that FedEx has to do too, but a lot of the day to day work is done by the contractors, and they should get their fair share. Not denying that at all. Now, can they be over demanding? Yes, some people can. I mean, if they if FedEx offers XYZ for mileage, you can always say, "Well, I want that much more." Well, what you want and what you get is not always the same. I don't care how you chart it out or whatever. There's only so much of a piece of a pie that's out there. Now, if FedEx can't make a profit, why even be in business? If all the money went to the contractor, why even be in business? And they're a publicly traded company, so they have to satisfy the stockholders, and that's what some of them don't want to realize. If it wasn't for the stockholders, there wouldn't be enough funds into the situation. So it's a ever evolving situation. It can't be just one sided, and people need to look at the total picture. I mean, the total picture. You can't look and say, "Well, here's what we've got to do, and we're going to demand this. If you don't do it, we're going to shut it down." Well, all that's done at this point, in my opinion, again, my opinion, is they're tightening the strings of the contracting model. I hate this because I saw it coming, and I kind of pre-warned some of them. I said, this is not going to be good with somebody out there trying to make up your own organization, collectively bargain, trying to put their might and everything toward this. They're not gonna be able to help the situation. You might say. I mean, it's tough. It's tough, and I feel for everybody out there. And I feel like FedEx is not gonna. They're not going to get rid of their golden goose. That's it in a nutshell. They know what makes them the money. They know what people are making money off of. So they're not going to get rid of their golden goose. So I feel like they've hit a road bump in the road right now, but they'll get over it. They'll get over it, and they'll do just fine. And that's why some people try to make things so dramatic. Oh, this 225 contractor, he owns 225 routes. That's going to really cripple them. Well, no, it's not. Like I said, they said that's 0.5%, not even a half a percent of the contractors or the routes that are involved. Very minuscule amount. I mean, is it a pimple on their butt? Yeah. And that's the reason they got rid of the pimple on their butt, you might say. That's the way they probably looked at it. This is a pimple on our butt. We need to extinguish it. And that's what they did. I saw it coming, and it's tough. Any idea why FedEx Ground is contractors? Well, it's just what it was, Fleet Tech. I mean, it was a company bought out I mean, FedEx didn't start it that way. FedEx, of course, had their entity with FedEx Express and everything, and they started buying up other companies, if you remember, and they bought up RPS back in the late '90s, about '97, I believe it was. They bought RPS, which I was a part of at the time, and that's how Roadway had started it as a contractor model, and FedEx looked at it and said, "This is a pretty good model." They looked at it and said, "This works," and that's what's happening. I mean, they're realizing that contractor model is a great, viable, working model, and they expanded on it, and then really expanded on it. And right now, FedEx Ground is one of the largest entities within the FedEx system. So FedEx Ground is huge. It's a direct competitor to UPS and Amazon out there. So that's why it's the way it is. Yeah. Well, I've had Jamie. I've had a lot of people say when I got out and everything. One of my best friends uh, came to me. He was talking, and he he said, "Mike," he said, "So that I see they started up the truck driving school down at the old Carolina Freight facility." He said, "These guys," he owns a restaurant. He said, "These guys come in and see me all the time." He said, "I think you know a couple of them," and I did. I knew a couple of the guys uh, when they were out working in trucking industry. And he said, "Well, why don't you get a job doing that?" And I said, "I don't want a job. I'm enjoying retired. I enjoy doing what I'm doing. I don't want a job, period." And I have a lot of people that ask me to do consulting work for them. I get text after text every single day of people wanting to hire me. I could be hired, but I don't want to be. I don't want the obligation. I'm at the point in my life right now is retired. I've made enough money. I am retired. I'm doing the things that I want to do, period. Uh, the biggest thing that I took on in the past year, 6 months to a year, is that I bought the rest of the farm from my wife's siblings, and we own the 75 acres or so that we have down here. I mean, it's ours now, and I'm going back and I'm kind of revamping and doing some things to the farm that I couldn't do as just living down here on the farm. I mean, we've lived down here on the back side of the farm for the past 45 years or so, 46 years. But it was still owned by the family and my mother-in-law. And when my mother-in-law passed away this past year, all the siblings wanted to sell the farm to us. So, fortunately for Barbara and I, we were able to purchase the rest of the farm from the family, and that's been my thing. So retirement is out of is I mean retirement is what I'm doing. I mean, we even sold our condo at the beach. I don't have a beach condo to go to anymore. Don't care. Uh, my little homestead down here is what I'm after. That's all I'm interested in. I'm not a big traveler. Right, and that's the way I look at it, Fleet Tech. Yeah, I'm not. I don't want to. I mean, I've had truck drivers so don't just love driving a truck. I enjoyed what truck driving brought my family. I enjoy the fruits of my labor, but do I want to labor over a truck and think that that's the greatest thing? No, that's not me. Uh, I don't live to do truck driving. I did truck driving so I could live, and that's the way I look at it. Now that's over and done with, and out of my life primarily. I'm still exposed to it, but being exposed to it and uh, being inundated with it on a daily basis are two different things. So being exposed to trucking uh, a little bit doesn't bother me. I mean, I still like mechanical things. I still love equipment. I'm buying more yard equipment and mowers and tractors, farm tractors, and skid steer equipment and things like that. That's what I love to do, messing with the farm down here. I'm still able. I mean, physically, I can't get out and do as much work as I used to. I run out of breath, and which I'm about to do talking here, but I still like to be able to climb in and out of equipment and work with equipment down here on my farm and see something accomplished down here. And that's what I'm able to do. That's what I love, and that's what my life's all about. Uh, Now I get involved with this FedEx stuff because uh, people ask my opinion, and I don't mind conveying my information that how I did business. Some people like it, some people don't. Some people think, well, you've been out of it too long. I've only been out a year and a half, primarily, so I still have some knowledge. I feel like, and I'm not going to be able to, and I'm not going to get into the intricacies of how they're getting paid and things like that. I can give you an overall view of how to operate it, but that's sort of the way I am right now. Now I feel for the guys, like I said it from the very top of it. I feel for the guys that are out there struggling with it every day because of the economy right now. It sucks. And that being said, please get out and vote good this fall. Vote your mind, your wisdom. What's going on? Don't align yourself with any particular party. If you've been a Democrat, if you've been a Republican, what independent, whatever, go out there and say who's going to help correct this situation. And we are so far to the left at this point. We've got to right this ship a little bit, whether it comes back as centrist or whatever. We need to get back and have some common sense, and we need to get back so this economy can get better. Because right now the ones in control are idiots. I mean, they're spin, 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 and all they're doing is out there making millionaires happy, I guess, in some respects. But the average guy out there is going to hurt like everything. And I hope that these 87,000 IRS agents don't come down hard on the average guy. But they will. I mean, why couldn't we have had 87,000 border patrol guys that would help control the border? Instead, what are they going to do? They're hiring 80. I mean, anybody in their right mind that can't see that they're coming after you so they can get more taxation to the average Joe. They don't need 87,000 to go to these corporate offices, because these corporate offices, they can fend that off. They have the lawyers, they have the accountants, they have everybody in place already. They're not going to be attacked and be hurt. They have everything in order. The people that they're going to get are the small guys, the mom and pop shops, the average guy that maybe has a lawnmower service, the people that they're afraid to death that they're either bargaining or bartering or somehow or another making money, a little bit of money. That's the guy that IRS is going to be after, because that's going to be easy picking. That's going to be easy picking for them, and it's going to be a tough situation. So be careful in these coming years, because that's the type of situation that's going to happen. Have all your records in place, because they definitely are going to come after the small guy. And I only see it that way. I mean, I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm afraid I'm not. And I'm afraid we're going to have a lot of people with a knock on the door, and they're going to say, we need your records for the last 7 years, blah, blah, blah. We want this. And then they're going to critique every single thing that you've done. And they're going to say, well, we can't allow this, or we can't allow that. And this, and this. Where's the receipt from that? They're going to nitpick people to death. I saw it happen. I saw my father-in-law get audited one time, him and my mother-in-law. They had an agent that came to their business and just sat on top of them basically for about 4 weeks. And one agent, I mean, and oh, my father-in-law was steaming about that. And it was tough. It was tough to see them go through that. Yeah. Oh, Craig, you'll need boxes and boxes of paperwork. And hopefully you got everything in order. Hopefully you didn't use just Joe Blow's little, tax service. Hopefully you got somebody good. I got a CPA, and I have a lawyer that's also a CPA, and hopefully I'll be in order uh, if somebody does come knocking on my door because it's tough. And I want every deduction I possibly am uh, capable of getting. And hopefully they won't come knocking and want more. But you never know. You never know who they're going to try to critique. Yeah. Well, and that's what you got to have. You got to have a good accountant that that very few of their uh, customers have been audited. I mean, if you hear of a CPA whose tons of their customers have been audited, then don't use that CPA. I would say. I mean, it's a tough world out there, and a lot of people think that they're lucky that all they have to do is just go to one of their chain stores that does this, and uh, it's tough. It's tough, and the poor federal government, not the poor federal government, the rich federal government, uh, has done it to us. They're going to try to enrich themselves by sucking the dollars out of the average person, and just have everything in order. Is what I say. It is a tough, tough, tough situation out there. Well, guys, my voice has gotten the best of me. I've enjoyed the heck out of it this morning. Been very, very involved in everything with everybody. I mean, it's been y'all been talking amongst yourself and everything good. So just stick to it. I'm gonna jump on out of here. I've spoken for about an hour or so. So my voice, that's about all it can take. Y'all take care. Talk to you later.